The following pod, I sat down with Chaim Meisels. I will say this is the first pod I have ever cried on. It was heartbreaking and special and heroic and amazing. Chaim helps run an organization called Nevut, which helps lone soldiers from Israel, in the IDF that come back to America, and he does such amazing work. And he shared his experience as a soldier, as someone who grew up in the Chassidic community, the great-grandson of the Satmar Rebbe, and his story is so beautiful. How he really, really defends. I feel so happy that he is defending the Jewish people, and there's so many parts to the story. And we talked, and if there's ever a podcast that you should stick around for 2 hours to listen, and write amazing things in support of this incredible individual who represents many, many more incredible individuals who are literally saving the Jewish nation. You should give all your money to his organization, Nevut. But this is a story that you do not want to miss. I will tell you, he did share with me the story of his unit killing Sinwar. And that was amazing. And anyway, I don't know what else to say. Please like and subscribe on YouTube to help the algorithm, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, so let me tell you something. We're going to do the whole intro later, but hopefully they'll find out so much about you. I don't have to do such an intro. I really wanted to have you on because I know about Nevut, and I love the work you do, and I've been a little bit involved in some of the cases. And to me, my pod is basically about people changing the world and doing things that are important, especially to help people. That's why I wanted you on. But then, and I didn't watch any of your things. I just knew you were on some podcasts because we met on Shabbos, and you told me over the herring that you were on podcasts. So
in a weird way, because I spoke to you on the phone about a specific case Nevut was handling,
right?
And I didn't even know you live. I was sure you live in Lakewood or somewhere.
Right.
I had no idea you live literally, and you daven in the same shul where I daven. And I'm like, and you're talking about your podcasts, and I'm like, I don't know who he is. And then we spoke for a minute. I was like, oh yeah, like I've been wanting to speak to you. It was amazing.
Yeah, so it's very cool. And then I listened to your, on today. This is this morning. So I'm excited to have you on for Nevut and all that. And I put on. You told me you're on Meaningful, so. I love Nachi Gordon a lot.
Great
and
guy.
The other guy, I forgot his name, but I love him too. But Nachi is awesome. He actually came on the pod. And so I wanted to check out you. And then I went through a range of emotions. Probably the best pod I've ever heard them do.
Whoa.
It was so good. There were points I was literally like, almost weeping, like, because you were talking about losing friends, and you're talking about, and then there was like the heroism of like going through it. I'm going to talk to you about all of it, but I'm telling you, my whole brain shifted. I'm like, I want to talk about Nevut, but I also want to like talk about some of your experiences as you. So we could go in any direction, but I could tell you, for me, it was like, what just happened? Things happened. So I'm very honored to have you here, more than I thought I was going to be. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But here's the thing. Even when you talk to me, I am part of Nevut.
Yeah.
Now, although I'm one guy, and I can tell some stories, but Nevut has hundreds and a couple thousand guys that they all have stories. I was talking today in the morning. I don't know if you follow the news so much, but yesterday there was an attack of 3 guys got killed.
In an Arab village, right?
Yes. I get into the office today in the morning, and I see this guy called me. So I started speaking to him, and he's like, Chaim, I was there yesterday.
In that location?
He wasn't at the location. He's one of the soldiers who responded to that incident.
Oh, my gosh.
And there is hundreds of guys from America who doing like there's probably I would say 50 to 100 guys now active duty who live here who just went back, and there's thousands who went and came back and went and came back. So I might be able to say cool stories and I get a mic sometimes, but there's hundreds of guys who are I think way more cool than I am because I get thank yous, they don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, the interesting thing is that I did want to have a soldier on. My nephews are all soldiers in Gaza, and they're fighting the good fight. And I'm like waiting for them to come to America so I could do a pod with them. But I didn't really have any soldiers on. And even the Israel topic has been so painful to me that I have a very hard time doing podcasts about it. It's almost like my brain has to shut off. And like, how do you deal with this level of trauma? Like, it's so crazy. And I speak to any situation you come up with. Like, we spoke about situations where people are literally wanting to die. These are heroes that like took care of us, and they're coming back. You know, we talk about it in America, like we talk about the veterans and the PTSD and the struggles and all they have, and you don't think of it as a Jewish issue at all. And then you're like deep in this issue, and every case, you and Ari are, and what's the other guy?
Shmuel, Matas.
Matas also always calls me. It's like you're in the front lines, and then you're in the front lines again, back in America. So I have a million questions for you, but I want to ask you right off the bat, like, what is Nevut? I would ask that because that was my original intention of this podcast, was to talk to you about Nevut. We have all the time in the world, by the way. I don't know.
I'm cool.
You tell me when you're ready to go. This could be Joe Rogan style. I could go 3 hours if you want. It's not a problem. And believe me, I think I do want to go 3 hours to you. But what is Nevut? Could you tell us what Nevut is, just so I could, like the world should know if they didn't watch the Nachi Gordon one.
Nevut is the organization for lone soldiers when they come back to the United States. Now, in Nevut, there's a few separate things we do. Number one, which we're trying to be very big at, and that's where there's a big need for, is community. So for soldiers to understand, they have other guys who went through the same thing with them, and to have a community of other guys who connect with them, go out for a cigar, for a drink, just meet up, hang out. That's number one. Number two, there's the therapy aspect of it. So there's a lot of guys who come back and they really need therapy. So Nevut is providing them with the therapy resources. And then there's all types of resources Nevut does, including a that, which is sometimes to find them work, to find them in their community who to speak to. And then comes in the more, complicated part of like, there's a lot of suicide cases, unfortunately. So getting involved in those cases and having the right effect on those kind of cases to have a good outcome.
Yeah, I had a theory. You can tell me if I'm a little off. Is that most people who voluntarily join an army, like in Israel, this might not be true, but most people who voluntarily join an army, they are often people who are unsettled in where they are. Now, I'm not saying it's always true, but they're unsettled. Like something is missing in their life. Almost they kind of overlap with my addiction world. Like the world is supposed to be better, and like something's going wrong. Their family wasn't good. Their community wasn't good. Like something was wrong, and they knew that they had to do special stuff for the world. So they like left the world and joined the army. And my theory is that they found this family in the army, which kind of heals them. Like they get it. Like this is a family. We're working. We have a mission. We're working together. And then all the veterans I've dealt with, when that family gets taken away, it's not just as bad as it was before. It's worse because you had the family for a period of time. You hear the theory of like, it exists, and now you're ripped apart from it, and then you're like floating. Those are the veterans I've dealt with.
Right. So I think in my case, it might be true because I had a struggle with myself, finding myself after I left where I grew up at. But I think I would say the majority of the cases I deal with now are not that. There are guys who grew up here, a lot, like they all grew up here, but their father was in the Israeli army, or their uncle is in the Israeli army, or they had this teacher who went, and it was like it's kind of a religious connection for them. that we gotta do our part to protect Israel, like praying for the soldiers. They had the Mishabayach in the shul every week. So they feel before they continue with their life as whatever they're gonna do, they gotta give a year and a half to kind of for Israel. It's like Kotel like in type of way you gotta do. So for them, it's that type after college, before college, let me go give a year and a half to Israel, and then I'm gonna continue in my life. It depends on the community, but I feel a lot of guys have that kind of background.
Which communities are they coming from? Like what?
They might come from LA, from Teaneck,
Like a more modern
like
Orthodox
more
type
modern Orthodox or very modern and not Orthodox.
Meaning their families are
Their family
also
are like
Zioni, like
yes,
they're-
the family is very Zioni. There is guys who are not. Like I had a guy tell me a couple of weeks ago that I was working with Nevut. The guy lives, I'm not gonna say, but somewhere out far away, and no really religious community in that town. And I was asking what made you join, and he's like, this was my connection to Judaism and God. So he, instead of finding a Chabad rabbi, he's like, you know what, I'm going to go to army. And now he's from, but he didn't grow up from. He just knew he's Jewish, didn't know a lot about it. So this was kind of his introduction to Judaism to more deep level was through the army, which is very funny.
which is funny.
Yeah, but it happens.
There's a lot of people, they have this belief that the Israeli army is like Jewish, but it is. But it's not known for a place where you could find, Judaism per se. Although I've had so many people I know have found. And you were mentioning in the podcast, that you actually started coming back to religion through the army. And there weren't a lot of people who were like being from around you.
Right.
Which I find is absolutely awesome. I have a friend who did that in the Marines. He went to the Marines in America, and then he because they were saying you can't have kosher food. All of a sudden he started fighting for things he was fighting against, and now he's it became an auction. I'm only eating kosher. He started eating kosher.
Amazing.
Shabbos, amazing. Anyway, okay, so I love Nevut. So I would I wanted a plug for Nevut,
They deserve it.
right off the
Yeah.
bat. I think it's amazing what they do. It's also very similar to what I do, where you're building community. And I think that there is no healing without community. I think that's my belief. And I think I've been proven over and over and over again that that's true. And I do believe that these guys are a very unique group of people that need their own community. So tip my hat.
Thank you.
First I'm starting with tipping my hat. Now, I'm listening to a pod. I don't know any of this stuff. I find out you grew up Chassidic,
Right.
which I could get from your accent. But you grew up where? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Williamsburg.
Could I give you a cigar?
Yes.
Could you take a cigar and tell me where you grew up? Okay, I'm gonna give you that cigar. Sorry, this pod.
Well, it wasn't that tough that I
little
need a
different.
cigar, my upbringing.
I'm getting
But I can always use a cigar. Not always.
right. I'm getting a criticism on the cigars from people that
That-
it's not a good example. You're supposed to be doing addiction work. You're doing cigars. What's going on? I love it. Where I think that if you have a chance to sit down with a good friend and have a cigar, if it's not an addiction, you're all right. That's my whole opinion on it. Anyway, and also I get to go shooting with you, which I'm very, very excited about. That's coming up. You're gonna take me shooting
Let's go.
and learn how. I'm very, very, very excited about that. This is very exciting. So you grew up where? You're a Villy?
So I grew up in Williamsburg.
Williamsburg.
Bedford Corner, Rodney. I don't know if you know Williamsburg, but that's the center of
That's the
Williamsburg.
center. Is that where Mishpacha grocery is?
What?
How
Mishpacha
far
grocery?
Is it called Mishpacha?
Hatzlocha?
Hatzlacha.
So
How
Hatzlocha,
far is Hatzlacha
so
from
Hatzlocha
there?
grocery is actually the new Williamsburg. When I grew up,
Oh.
which, it's going to make me sound old, but 20 years ago, Hatzlocha grocery was just becoming Williamsburg. So there's Williamsburg where Williamsburg was,
Right.
one spot around the BQE, more towards the modern Williamsburg. And slowly, since all the, I would say, hipsters came into Williamsburg, because it's right across Manhattan,
They're pushing you
Williamsburg
out.
kind of grew to the other side. So where I grew up is now almost in the side of Williamsburg already, and Williamsburg is growing to the other side. So Hatzlocha is now in the center, but when I was there, it used
It
to
was
be
in the center.
in the corner.
Gotcha. kind of happening like that in Muncie too. It's a similar thing. Muncie, the original Muncie, everybody's be pushed out to the outskirts.
Right, but what's the outskirts? Pomona or Airmont?
There's no outskirts of Muncie. It seems to go forever. It's eventually going to connect with Lakewood. It's gonna. It's just gonna have. It's gonna connect to Lakewood and Monroe, and it'll be only Jews. That'll be the Borscht, the new Borscht Belt.
I wouldn't say there's gonna be only Jews.
It's not gonna always.
It's
not gonna only be Jews.
Yeah, we want other people around us as well. We're not gonna kick everyone out.
But you grew up in the center. You were like You're Satmar, right?
Yes, I'm Satmar. You want to go my family, like the Rebbe thing?
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, you were like, you're not just a Satmar Chassid, you're from I don't know that much about the Yichud stuff. I know that Chassidim take it very seriously.
Some.
Yeah.
So
but you're an uncle.
Yes, my great-grandfather was the second Satmar Rebbe.
Okay.
So the way it works is there was the first Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel.
Mm-hmm.
He had kids who all passed away in World War II. Once his kids passed away, he came to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, that whole area, and he opened up the new Kehillah of Satmar, which Bechlal originally was Sighet. Satmar before World War II was very small. The bigger Kehillah was Sighet. Now
Seagate,
like
in
Sighet.
Seagate.
Sighet. Not in Seagate over here, but there was a city or town in Romania called Sighet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I really like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and Satmar is from Santa Maria.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is
Saint Mary, right?
Yeah,
The mother of Jesus, which we're not supposed to talk about.
We don't know who it
Yoshka.
is, but yeah. So what happened was he came after World War II to America, opened up this big community Satmar, have a lot of guys join him, became a very big kehillah. Now, when he passed away, there's a few things that happened. Number one, Neturei Karta broke off.
Even then?
So Neturei Karta is not part of Satmar for many years by now, at least almost 50 years.
Just for anybody
because he
who doesn't
was
know,
not
Neturei Karta, the guys, the ones that go to all the protests and fight.
Neturei Karta are the guys who claim to be Satmar and are not accepted in Satmar.
Right.
And they're the ones who are actively fighting now against Israel. Actively fighting means, you see them with the protests, with the signs, with whatever they do, but they are a very small percentage of Satmar. And they're not Satmar. Their kids don't go to Satmar school anymore. I wouldn't say, Shidduchim between them and Satmar probably won't happen.
Really?
Most Satmar guys wouldn't even say hi in the street. They have their own thing. I think they send their kids to Bnei Yoel or Shopra, I'm not even sure, but definitely not to the mainstream Satmar schools, Satmar idea.
Gotcha.
So my grandfather took one part, and then there's the part that broke off. He had the main Satmar. And then my grandfather, I remember...
This is your grandfather or your great-grandfather?
Great-grandfather.
Okay.
Now, I call him my grandfather because it just makes it complicated to say great-grandfather, but he's my great-grandfather.
What was his name?
Moshe Teitelbaum.
Okay.
He is a very nice guy. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. It was very nice to me too as a kid.
You Amish knew him?
Yeah,
you spoke to him?
Yeah, we spoke. Yeah, I have quite a few memories with him.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then when he passed away, his two kids took over, and then they became two Satmars.
Oh,
so now there's two big Satmar, Aroni and Zaloni. That's my great-uncles, two of my great-uncles. My grandmother was their sister. She passed away already before my great-grandfather passed away. She had cancer.
Oh, really?
But that's really my connection into this.
So you grew up, were there certain expectations because you were part of the family, or?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of my clothing was a little bit different than everyone else's.
Really?
Yeah, I had there's Chassidim who go with long pants and there's one who go short. I had the short pants,
Okay. With it tights.
Yeah.
They're probably not called tights.
Whatever they're called. But the main expectations for me was I felt some of my teachers had this certain expectation from me in learning that I have to be better because I was the rabbinical. That's where my expectations kind of.
Did you get better treatment or worse treatment because of that?
So I got worse treatment because I wasn't that much better.
Gotcha.
But
so the expectations
hurt. I think it hurt me a little bit.
Oh, wow.
It's still around. Maybe, one day I'll go to therapy to figure out exactly what happened over there. But I'm not open for it yet.
Especially not on a podcast.
No, not on a podcast. Not now.
But I will tell you that I have a lot of Chassidim that I work with, and I have asked the most questions. It's everybody thinks it's here. Take another match. Everybody thinks that that's like it's just like ultra Orthodox Jews, and it's not. There's so many different traditions and ideas that are in the Hasidic community that to me it's almost like me studying aliens when I ask questions. I'm completely fascinated by it. I should do a lot more podcasts about it, but it's really fascinating to me, the world, because I have found so many things that I didn't think were important. I remember I asked, this might go into something. I asked somebody, a mother, would you rather your kid break Shabbos or eat pig or cut off his pass? Hands down, she was like, I'd much rather he does Shabbos and pig, because they could come back. You take the lavush off,
It's very sad.
it's over. But does that statement shock you?
No.
It doesn't shock you.
No.
For me, I was like floored. I'm like, what? That's crazy. But
It's very sad.
I've never told that to a Chassidic person who was shocked.
No.
They're like, but I didn't really understand that idea of how important the lavush is, or lavish. I don't know, everybody says it different, I guess. So you grew up
What
deep
was?
in this.
Let's go on that note.
You asked me.
They say there is 3 things that kept the Jews in Egypt. What was those 3 things? They didn't change their language,
clothes, and
names.
names, right?
Why? That's on that same note.
I agree.
So
yeah,
in a way, you have the clothes are going back thousands of years. Like we spoke on Shabbat about Moshe, like Yaakov.
Right.
The clothes does have a big impact on you. I remember when I took off my bias. Maybe shouldn't talk about it too much, but
Okay.
first 2 days were very tough on me.
I'm sure.
It was like that's it.
2 days?
I think so.
I would assume that would be really rough for a while.
No, it's just
I'm gonna tell you a wild story, and then you're gonna go back to you. What I'm saying, I sent a guy who is a Chassidic guy to rehab down in Florida, and I was the Jewish liaison to this rehab. So I sent him down to Florida, and he was a little already not keeping the whole lavush, but he still was wearing a yarmulke or kappa or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I came down about a month later, and he wasn't wearing the kappa anymore. So I asked the staff, why is he not wearing a kappa? Or a yarmulke? And they said, well, he took it off, and we don't ask questions. They weren't Jewish. We respect his religious things. And I said, I think you're misunderstanding my question. I don't care if he's wearing a yarmulke or not. I'm Sonny Perlman. I'm the guy who accepts everybody. That's not the question. The question is, this guy, since he's 3 years old, didn't go Dalet Amos. He didn't go 8 feet, 6 feet, whatever you decide it is. He did not walk 6 feet without his yarmulke on his head. He took his yarmulke off. This is a traumatic event. He's in a rehab. You guys are the therapists. Talk to him about it. You know what I'm saying? You need to understand what happened. This is not like I took off my cross that my grandmother gave me because I was a Christian. Like, this is not the same world. This is another planet where when I walk around without a yarmulke, I've never walked around without a yarmulke my whole life. Even when I went through a bunch of years where I really wasn't religious. But I just heard somebody say it recently. I was so excited. You ever go on the Ellie Nash podcast yet? He actually said the same thing. I was so happy because he said he put his yarmulke on for Jewish pride. I had it on for Jewish pride. I was really proud Jew. I always wore a colorful yarmulke, a big yarmulke, try to in your face, even when I wasn't hanging out with Jews, especially when I wasn't hanging out with Jews. And I always had a yarmulke. But when I take off my yarmulke, I walk 5-6 feet without a yarmulke. I feel naked. This is part of me, So So I don't know. I can't imagine even 2 days to cut off your bias. 2 days, you're over it. Pretty impressive. I'm just saying. I would assume it really has an effect on you. That's what I assume. But it's not a therapy session.
I believe I am. I used to at least think that I think I am. I really try to focus on the next step.
Yeah.
I mean, to say, I'm sure you know, how many guys do you know who can sit now here or wherever they want to sit,
right,
and blame everyone on everything they did?
A lot of people.
A lot.
Yeah.
And how far did they get with that?
It's the blame game is
Like,
not a fun game.
It's not a, yeah.
You always lose.
I remember back then I was like, okay, that's it. Next step. We got to continue, figure it out, train more, try to work something out, figure out a way, to be okay with that even if you don't have pies, like I'm still a human being, whatever it was, like to get to that next level, that next step. So It wasn't I tried not to get stuck on things. I really try.
Right. So, okay, so you're the I was so amazed by this podcast. I don't ask the same questions because you already answered the questions, but I was so amazed that somebody could go from where you were to the Israeli army. And they didn't really sit on it, but I know that even not the Neturei Karta, Satmar is far from Tzioni. I mean, they're definitely not Zionists. At best, they're all right, as far as I know.
Can I pause to see if it's an emergency?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi everyone, my name is Rabbi Ari Abramowitz. I started Nevut in 2017 when I returned to the United States after serving in the IDF as a lone soldier. I saw the critical gap that couldn't be ignored. Our lone soldiers give everything, their souls, their strength, their lives on the line to protect Israel. When their service ends, their challenges don't.
At Nevut, we provide lone soldier veterans with trauma counseling, mental health support, career guidance, and one-on-one mentorship.
Every day we see lives transformed because someone cared enough to make a difference.
And that can be you. Together, we can honor their sacrifice. Click the link and donate now.
Join us in standing by those that have given everything for us. They stood for Israel, now let's stand for them.
We're back. Okay, we may have had an emergency. Didn't turn out to be an emergency, so we're good. But I
Thank you.
told Chaim that if he needs to answer the phone for emergencies, he can. I have a similar thing. But I really only like to answer for my wife. So
It wasn't my wife.
it wasn't your wife. It was your work wife. It was Ari, no?
Yeah, good guy.
Okay.
Really respect him a lot.
All right, so not to do the whole story again,
Yeah.
but you went from a world where this is not, like, what's the story, kind of in a nutshell? You went from Chassidic kid to the IDF.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell the whole story again, but like just give context to the audience.
I always liked Israel a lot. I was fascinated about the Israeli army, Bichlal, Israel as a country. If we can start before that. So when I was a kid, there was a while that I was very interested in everything connected to World War II. So I would used to ask my great-grandfather where he was in World War II. Which ghetto? How did it feel? What did you eat? Stupid kid questions that I was... In a way, I didn't believe it.
Really?
Yeah, like you kill 6 million people. Like, it just didn't add up. Yeah. And I'm a kid. I'm not that old. I was fascinated about it. Now, when I went the first time to Israel, I kind of had this click that all my questions have an answer. We can have our own country. We can have our own police. We can have our own army. Like, we are the government. No one can tell us what to do. No one can push us away anymore.
It was the answer to
it
the
was
Holocaust.
kind of the answer to the Holocaust, for me at least.
You were able to recognize that as a young kid?
Yeah, I was tiny when yeah.
That's seriously sophisticated thinking. I'm just saying that's pretty wild.
Thank you.
That's cool. Okay, so
it was just a connection. Like, it was amazing, and the answers that I got why Israel is not good were not good enough for me. Me and Kasey, we can go in now to why Satmar doesn't like Israel.
Yeah, why doesn't Satmar like Israel? Can I ask?
there's a bunch of answers. I might not be the best guy to answer that because I'm a Nagai Badover.
Gotcha.
But the things that answers I got is a few things. Number one, Israel was not built as a religious country.
Right.
If you go to
If
see
anything,
who,
it's the opposite.
yeah, like who were the
If Rav Kook wasn't around, it probably would have had almost no religion.
It had some, but Herzl was not from. Not only was he not from, he did not like the from idea.
Right.
And the Zionist Congress, which I don't know if you want to talk about it, I'll be running for a seat there.
No way.
Yeah.
Is that true?
We're still working it out, but I believe it's gonna happen.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's for Nevut. I wanna make noise over there.
Good. Wow. Okay.
But that was not from. Now,
Yeah.
That's why Satmar couldn't go along with it. Because how can you, let's say, if you have hundreds of Jews, thousands, probably a million, more than a million Jews before World War II were not religious, right? If you go, how many were religious?
Much more.
Most were not.
Right.
Now, if you're fighting an everyday battle, at least in their heads, with someone who's trying to take the Bukhram out of yeshiva not to be from,
Right.
you can't support that. Doesn't matter what they do. So that was where the initial idea from them not agreeing with Israel came from. Because who was the Zionist leaders back then? Mostly not religious people. Now, what happens now is very different. Because let's say you don't agree with the idea of Israel. But now you have a country. You have millions of Jews who live in Israel. They need to be protected, right? Let's say if you go now hiking in this weather outside, I might tell you you're an idiot, right?
Right.
Don't go, it's very cold, you don't know how to navigate, you probably will get lost. But when you call me up and say, hey Chaim, I got lost, I need someone to come pick me up, I'll go get you out of there. Although I said don't go, but because you're my friend and you're a fellow Jew, I'll go get you out. Now that's the same way I kind of looked at Israel on the other side.
Right.
Yes, we might not agree on what it was created or the idea of the Zionist movement from 100 years ago, but now you have millions of Jews who live there.
Right.
They're religious or not religious. They support the Jewish people around the world. They need your protection. If there's going to be no one on the border by October 7, not a couple thousand Jews would have been killed. It would have been way more, right? Because they don't care if you're Jewish or not. They don't care if you're religious or not. They don't care about you. They call a settler even someone who lives in Tel Aviv.
Right.
Like for them, settlers is anyone who lives in Israel. So as a fellow Jew and someone who's proud to be a Jew, I felt like we need to support them and help them to protect Israel as a country. So that was kind of my question with Satmar about Israel.
Even early on.
Even early on.
Because the truth is, when I study history, if the Chassidim weren't around in Europe, we'd be done. I don't know how to say it another way. In terms of religious Jews, the biggest yeshivas were 500-600 people. The Chassidim were really the ones that were keeping it alive, and the biggest threat were the Zionists. I mean, and Haskalah and the Zionists, they were very connected. I totally get what the original fight was about, but they stuck with it. A lot of them stuck with it.
Right.
And
that is the question now. Do you have to keep your father's fights? Or you can say, hey, he had a fight. He probably was right. However, you gotta figure out how to save the situation now. If someone did something bad, yes, they did something bad. But that I still am obligated to help them because I need to help them.
Right.
So by just going against them now, it's like, who are you? Even the Satmar Rebbe said, back in the day, we're talking years ago, right? The first Satmar Rebbe who went so strong against Israel, that there is this politician that came to him and his Gabon said, oh, the Rebbe should like him because he's also against Israel. And he said, no, if he's against Israel, he's not Jewish. He doesn't care about the Bukharim who are not going to be from. He's an anti-Semite. So he doesn't have the right to be against Israel. I have the right to be against Israel because we have religious disagreements.
Right.
But this guy, I'm not going to be on the same page with him.
I love that.
So even then...
That happens to be the thing with the Tuareg character that really bothers me. It's like, you could fight against it, but you don't fight with the anti-Semite.
Right.
Like that's not the same fight.
You fight if you don't agree that you say whatever. There's all the issues with the government that people might not like. Might be fair,
Right.
but in the end, there is Jews here who need you. They need your help. You need to protect them, and I think anyone who is physically and mentally capable to protect Jews from getting killed needs to do it.
Wow.
That's my.
You think that all Jews should go do a service in Israel, like American Jews should go?
I think every
and do
Jew
it?
should do whatever they can for the Jewish people.
Okay.
If
Not
you
everybody fight as a soldier, but something.
even in the army, right? How many guys in the IDF are combat?
I don't know.
I would say less than 25%.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you need everything. You need kitchens, you need tech, you need truck drivers, you need mechanics. There's a whole big, I think for every combat soldier, there's about 9 not combat soldiers. If you go on the overall picture, not in that unit, but if you go overall, there's a big support that combat soldiers need. Now, if you can go to Israel fight, absolutely you should. But if you can be here and talk on social media, if you have a big following for Israel, that is a service to Israel.
Right.
If you can just be nice to the guy in your shul and help him whatever he needs as a Jew, that's also a service for the Jewish people. I don't think the only way of serving is in the IDF.
Right.
But I think that is a way of serving. And if you're capable to do that, you should.
Wow. Have your views on this? Okay, obviously your views have changed several times in your life, I'm assuming. So let's just get back to the idea. Like you went, okay, I got this little Satmar kid, I'm sure you were adorable, and you had these thoughts that were maybe too big for your brain, and then what happens? Then you end up in the idea. I need to know how it happens with the how does that translate to idea?
It was a long process. It wasn't like a day. It took it was years in the making. There's the idea was in my head from early on. Like early on, I had this idea.
Right.
Now it wasn't practical because you're not gonna leave yeshiva to go to IDF. That didn't.
Right.
It was a lot of back and forth. I was like, let's say for a couple of years, I had this idea, and then, Chaim, you're crazy. Like you're a young stinker. Like what do you know about big life? You gotta get older. You gotta figure out what's going on here. So there's a lot of back and forth. And then I don't like to talk about it a lot. I got married when I was very young. When I was 17 and a half, I got engaged. 18, I was married.
Wow.
And then something big happened right after that. And that was my way. That was like, that's it. I'm just not, I gotta leave.
You got to leave the marriage?
Everything.
Everything.
I was like, that's it. I
Wow.
just couldn't live with myself with what's going on around me. Maybe because I was too naive to see that life all over there's falls, and it's not, you don't want to throw the kid with a bath,
The
that,
baby with the bathwater.
It was just, that's it. It was just like I'm done.
But you had and you left the marriage and you left
Everything.
religion.
Everything. Like everything flew out together. It was like a long process until then, but that was like that's it.
Wow.
And then starts the process of looking for yourself. I had a job. I was kind of, okay. I had friends. I was figuring it out. Actually, I had a scholarship to Columbia University.
Really?
That like, hey, we can get you in. Become something. I was dreaming of becoming a doctor back then.
Really? Okay.
It's fascinating. I was an EMT. I was like the whole idea of it. And then one day I'm sitting in the office desk that I had, and I'm listening to the radio, and I see there's going to be a war in Israel very soon. And you can see a war is coming. You can feel it. If you know what to read, you have kind of the idea that something is coming. Now, I had a question for myself. So you don't have any excuses anymore. This is where your life is heading. Like, I saw myself heading in a very particular life set that was heading at that time. Or you can take a break a year and a half, go to the IDF, do something for Israel, and then continue on yourself. Because I always had, like, as I said, since I was a kid, I wanted to be part of Israel. I wanted to support Israel. So I said, if I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah. It's now or never.
What's the first thing, if you want to go to the gym, what's the first thing you got to do to actually go?
This is a good question because this is actually my problem right now.
Oh, okay.
No, because
It's not buying gym shoes. It's not paying for the
signing up for
membership.
the gym.
And it's
No?
not signing up for a gym.
Okay.
It's
What is it?
showing up to the gym.
Showing up.
Because once you show up and then you have the things, you'll figure it out. If I'm sitting here now, I'm having a good conversation and I'm getting another cigar and whatever I'm doing, there's a certain type of action you need to do that will motivate you or give you enough dopamine to do it again and again and gets you in. So I figured out if I want to get in to the IDF or if I want to do something with my life, I have to do step number 1 and not just talk about it or read about it or contemplate all the downsides. I just got to do it. And once you do it, you'll get into the next step.
Right.
It's like people who tell me I'm going to have the last drink now and I'm going to stop drinking. I have a very hard time with those people. The people who say, I just had my last shot yesterday and I'm not taking one now, that's the people I tend to believe a lot more.
It's interesting. I have a thing that's very similar to that, which is I say, well, I work with people getting off of
Right.
addictions. So years ago, and even before I was really working addictions, I had this, which is if someone says I quit drinking, they didn't quit. If you say I'm a non-drinker, then you're a non-drinker. Meaning, like, you have to, the word has to be like, that's in the past. Like, I not even in the past. I don't drink. As a human being, I don't drink.
But it has to be I quit already, not I'm going to quit next week.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's done.
Right. So that's my idea. If I want to do something,
Right.
if I'm telling you I'm going to start working out, that's very bad.
That's the favorite word of an addict is tomorrow.
yeah.
Tomorrow is the best.
Yeah. So that was my idea too. I'm
Right,
gonna
okay.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna figure it out. I had no plans really. Actually, I tried to sign up. I tried to sign up with the program. They denied me. They said my life is too complicated. It's not for them. I can wait another year and then I can try to draft again.
Mm.
And it was all those small things. I was getting pulled in different directions. And I just felt I got to go to Israel and I'll figure it out on the go. And that's when I went, I didn't speak any Hebrew. I barely knew units about the IDF, who was where, who was going for who. Didn't know about the whole thing too much.
Wow.
But I knew that I'm going to get in, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get out. And that's it. That's how it happened.
I want to know, like, who you called. Like, you show up, like, you call somebody? Or
I called some people. The people I thought are going to help me didn't really.
Okay.
I'm not going to say names, but I believe off names you'll know who those guys are. My family sent me to 1 or 2 rabbis in Israel.
Okay.
That they understand to my issue and they're going to help.
Right.
And they were the biggest waste of money my family probably ever paid.
Oh, yeah.
I just like total, like they didn't get it. They didn't know, like they're amazing at getting up in shul and delivering a beautiful speech about Kiruv and claim they helped 2-3 people who just helped themselves probably.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
So,
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people in my field like that.
Yeah.
People are very, very excited about, and you're like, not
Yeah.
sure. Okay, but we're not going to use names. I'm with you
Right.
with the no names. I probably know which names you're talking about. So, it probably be. So you showed up, you joined the army, and now you're a Chassidic guy in the army. This point, you're not
no.
wearing
This
the-
point, I was not religious from still here. So like
Okay.
I wasn't in the system from like a half a year. Like from when I got out of what I was in,
Right.
I wasn't religious anymore at all. Like I kind of didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
And as time went by, I got smarter and I realized that there is a lot of good things in religion. I do want to be religious. I just, not everyone, like, don't take everything because one person is not good. That means everyone is bad.
Right.
And that's really what happened to me.
So a mentor of mine used to say, don't blame Judaism. Don't judge Judaism by the Jews.
Yeah.
That's
Especially some of them who want you to know that they're Jewish.
okay. Gotcha.
Like there's certain, like there's certain people who come out that they represent. Those are usually the issue people.
Right.
Anyway, so you want to talk units? Like I don't know where you want to go.
No, so I I want you to talk about what it's like to be in the Army. As you're saying, because you dropped everything, you walked in, didn't feel different than everybody. I mean, I still assume,
But
I grew up in a very small sect of community, even though it's not Chassidic. It was like a mix, called Shayashiv community, and we had like a very interesting way of doing things. And my whole life, I always felt kind of out of place because unless I'm with somebody from that community. So you're walking from a very insular community into the broadest Jewish community ever in Israel.
right. So here's the good thing about the first base I was at. The first base I was at is called Michve Elon. It's a base for people who don't really speak Hebrew to get to know the language, to get to know the culture a little bit, and to be in basic training. So it's like a half a day you do basic training and a half a day they teach you Hebrew. Right. Now, who are the other guys who come to Israel who don't know Hebrew? There was in my class a couple other Americans, I think 3 or 4 other Americans, which one of them dropped after like a month or two, just wasn't for him, and the other one dropped like I think a couple months down the line. There's some who still made it through the army, but the success rate wasn't as big as I thought it's going to be in the beginning.
Right.
Then there was a bunch of Russian kids who came from Russia or Ukraine or whatever they came to Israel to join the army, and they also didn't know any Hebrew. Then there was quite a few guys from France who grew up with a lot of anti-Semitism, and that's why they came to the IDF. And there was just people from all over the world who came. Now, in this community where the other guys in my class don't really speak English, and they have like Russian and French and English. So I was part of the people in the box. Everyone was foreign, so it was kind of
that's cool.
Good to be with a lot of foreigners. However, I did 3 months over there, and then I went to Golani. They sent me to Golani. I wanted to go to Tzanchanim. I don't know why I didn't get in. I got into Golani, and there's like 2 weeks of like a basic training, and then you have a test for special forces. Now, I don't know if you know about Golani, but Golani is very like stereotypical, super like, I would say like the Mizrahi, very different than what a Satmar kid is used to. Very different. Like the language, the act, it was just very, I did feel very weird over there.
Could you explain that a little more? Because I'm not sure I understand.
So I'll give you an example, okay? The first night, I am sleeping on the bottom of a bunk bed. There's a guy sleeping on top of me. We get our phones for like an hour at the end of the day. Guy picks up his phone, and he uses the most degrading word there is to say for a woman. And that's how he's calling his girlfriend and saying, "Hey, how are you?" and using this word.
Okay.
I was like blown away by it. I was like, "Hello, dude." And then there's some other conversations that I just really didn't get. And I realized those are not the highest class of people there is in Israel.
Right.
Some of them were very good, but some of them were like, and I was like, I'm not going to do 3 years with those guys. I might, but it's just not going to work, whatever. So then they have a test for special forces. Now, obviously, because they offer it, I want to go for it. I didn't really train for that unit. I knew about it, vaguely what it does. Said I'm going to go out for it's like a gibush. It's like almost a week of the day, mentally and physically torture you. And then they pick out a couple of guys to get into that unit. I said, I'm going, and I'm going all in. I have nothing to lose. I dropped everything already in America, known as, here is where I'm going to make it or break it. Because I felt my service and my success depends on this test, if I pass it or not.
Okay. So you got really motivated.
And and I was willing to do whatever. I was like, I'm more going to make it or get out on a stretcher. There wasn't like a quitting option in my head.
Gotcha, okay.
And they push you. They push you those days to the limit. Like I can go down story of that week, but there was a lot of physical and mental tests. They challenge you. Now, in the beginning, I was never the best. I was not the best runner because I didn't train as other kids trained for years. I was not. Wasn't the best. But here's the thing: when you do the test, you do it once. Like basically, there's like this mountain you got to run up, right? Up and down, up and down.
I have 2 nephews that did this. So they've told me some stories that are wild.
It's wild.
So I'm hearing your story.
Yeah.
I'm remembering the hill. You got to run up and down.
You got to run up and down, up and down. Now, when it came to run up the first time, I was not the first. It was more towards the end. Second time, probably the same. But when it came 5 and 6, and you give it all every time, that's when I started being the first.
Because they're passing out.
Because or they're passing out, or they didn't have the drive as much after a couple times.
You're
And
saying it's an internal thing.
It was an internal, 100% internal. It was like I'm gonna give it all. There was a time in this test that I was bleeding, and I'm saying bleeding from almost everywhere in my body, from crawling and pulling and this, and I'm like digging this hole. They made us dig this hole, and the instructor comes to me and he's like, "You're bleeding anyway from everywhere. Just quit. Get a coffee, get a drink, become warm, whatever it is. Just quit. We're not gonna take you anyway. Look at you." And I remember thinking in my head, I'm not sure if I said it or not. I'm almost sure I didn't say it, but in my head I said it. Whatever it is, I'm going to stay here.
Right.
And I just followed through, even though he told me that we're not taking you. And it was that challenge, that, the push again and again and again, that in the end I got in to that unit.
Wow.
And it was 8 out of almost 500. So it was a huge accomplishment for me, especially from where I came from, that I was able to make it into that unit. So that also gave me a big push forward, and also I felt maybe I'm able to succeed in this line a little.
Really? So is that what they're looking for? They're looking for people who have the inside.
They're looking for people who have the inside more than that. Like, again, you need to have the outside.
Yeah.
But the inside is more important than the outside, because when you're in Gaza now, right, and you have not good food, it's raining, it's cold, weather is nasty, right? You get shot at, you shoot, you don't know. You need to be mentally strong enough to be able to open the building the right way, not just walk in and get shot. Like, there's a certain challenge that you need to have mentally when war is going on for a while, to be mentally strong enough to still care about the small details.
Right.
That the difference what I see between special forces guys and regular guys, they're all human beings. They're all motivated soldiers. It's about mentally being strong enough when there is no point, and it takes so long, and you miss your family, and you have every excuse in the world. That's when it really matters, because that's when they test you. Now, they're looking for guys who, when everything is crazy, are still going to be motivated, are still going to come back for another round of Miluim, are still going to say, we got this, are still going to stand up for the right cause. And that's why they're looking, in a way, as much as, or if not more, as guys who are physically a beast. The guy can lift, can run an Ironman.
Right.
But if you say something not nice to him, he just falls down.
collapses.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people drop out. I'm assuming those instructors basically said to everybody at some point, like, just drop out. It's probably something they say to people.
Probably.
And I wonder how many people actually just go, okay.
Yeah, you see all the time. You see
Just
people.
drop.
Yeah. The whole time you see people walk away. Wow. Like the whole week you see people. Okay, whatever. Next. I want to shower. I want to. Like, people walk away the whole time. Everyone for their reason, but.
So then you get put in another unit.
Yes,
Then
you
what
get
happens?
put into another unit. It's like a separate pluga. It's on the same base, but a separate separate side, and then they.
The same base, but you're better. Okay. So it got to be a little bit.
Like not because you're better. It's because the requirements they have from you is a little more than what they have from other people.
Right, gotcha.
It's not that I was better. It's just the amount of time they wanted me to run 3 kilometers. It's just 2 minutes faster than what they asked from the other people. It doesn't mean the other guys couldn't do it. There's guys now who I left that unit after a while. But there's guys now I work with who are way better than some of the guys I work with back there. I'm not whatever. And those guys get more money, It's the expectation in a way is a little bit bigger, which makes also, it's a big difference when you expect someone and they know they worked hard to get into that unit. They wanted to get into that unit. So what they're able to deliver a lot of the times is a little better.
It's amazing. It's wild.
That's
Okay, so you ended up in this. Wow. I really want to know where all your fire comes from. I love it. I'm really curious where this fire comes from. It's wild. Every part of the story, you're pushing ahead. Like, these are huge hurdles, massive hurdles, every single one. You're saying a very matter of fact. Maybe that's just your personality. Just more chilled about this stuff. I don't know, but it sounds like
Maybe it's in my I do give credit to my family.
There you go.
Might be in the family a little.
yeah, but yeah. Well, you come from an awesome family. There you go.
We might not agree now on the same things, but my family, a lot of my great grandparents my great grandfather was a big leader. He led people to become from or to be strong after World War II, which is insane. People lost everything they got, and he had this guy who stood up and said, "Hey, we're gonna rebuild this together. We're gonna make this community." Being a rabbi now is kind of tough. Imagine being a rabbi after the war when your whole community, everyone lost their family in World War II.
Right.
Everyone is struggling, so that it has to come a little from there, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there were only a couple of people, these couple of rabbis and teachers at the time that literally restarted Judaism in America. There was nothing going on, so it's kind of
there
amazing.
was, but they made it the Chassidic part of it and this strong identity of it they brought into it.
Wow. Well, it's nice that you see that this comes from your family. That's nice.
Yeah, they might not like me when I say that, but
They're like, we shouldn't have been that good.
I don't know.
You get along with a lot of family?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we learned it was a lot of work on my side, and I'm sure on their side too, although I didn't see what I went through. To be able to be in a spot to say, yes, I disagree with whatever the chinuch or whatever else I disagree with, but in the end, it's family. And I know when any one of my family will, if they chas v'shalom won't feel well, I'll be there for them. And know the same for me. Like if I really need something now, I know my family will have my back.
Right.
And I'll have their back, whatever it takes.
Dude, you're making my life seem very boring. Okay, so you're still very young here at this part of the story.
I'm like 18, 19.
Really? So you're really young. And now you speak Hebrew at this point. You're
slowly, my Hebrew became a lot better slowly. Yeah. Now, a big challenge what I had is, this is my first downside. We're going to talk of what I do now.
Yeah.
In my unit, there was one other lone soldier. It was myself and another guy. His name was Dylan Walt. South African lone soldier, came from South Africa. And in the middle of training, one day he went behind the barracks and shot himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was not easy, because being that you had another guy who speaks English who didn't grow up in Israel, shoots himself in the middle of training, was not it was kind of a tough step to pass.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah. So this happened. Now,
did he show any signs of anything, or
he did? I don't know.
He wasn't doing well.
There was some signs that I had, but nothing big enough or strong enough that I'm gonna think he's actually gonna do it.
Right.
Plus, he did way better than me. Like he was more fit than I was. He was more accepted than I was, I think, in a way. So I didn't think of it that far. Never did.
Right.
Until after it happened. So that also set me up in a certain way.
What? Okay, so let me just say, because this is like American armies, everybody, we have so many of these suicide cases that we talk about. Do you have any idea like why this is happening? Like
no two cases are the same.
I know.
Like no two, like the reason he did it and the reason people who did it later when I met other people who had unfortunately the same ending, they're not the same reason at all. But I think being a soldier in a way, for some people, makes their body look like a tool. Meaning to say, because everything is so mentally, they've done crazy marches and not sleeping and not eating. Like, their body is just like a tool.
Right.
So when they see their body as a tool, I'm no psychiatrist.
Yeah. I want to hear from you.
It makes it a little bit easier for them. Oh, it's one of the tools I have and I can just do it. Because for some people, they just never have that idea.
Yeah, because their body is them,
Yes.
and this is like you're saying.
Like there is the
it's kinda
spirit and the
separate.
body. Like you know, they always say there's like when you feel you're done, then you know you're only 20% done. You have only 80% more to go. Like
Right.
there's all those cool things, and when you're able to push your body to such limits, it's mental. Like what we really are, it's not our body, it's our spirit, right? Our desires, our neshama. That's what we really are. Now, for some people, they're just spirit and their body don't match up, and they see it as a tool. Or they're suffering so much on their body that they want to get rid of it in a certain way.
Wow. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing. I've dealt with it. I've even been on the phone with you guys with people that are talking about it.
We had a
Although-
case we sent you. I
Right.
remember we spoke about
He
one.
ended up killing himself?
No, he's for now not.
Okay.
Shame.
Okay.
Hopefully he does a lot better.
Okay, thank God.
No,
I was
no.
like, oh my God.
No, but he had this was part of his struggle.
It was
that
part of
guy,
his struggle. Yeah. Okay, so now you're okay, but then you left.
Yes.
So
So
that's-
so here's what happened.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the training in that unit, it's like a year and 2 months of training. They give everyone positions in the unit, whatever their specialty is gonna be. Now I got a job. Just one of the everyone in the team has a different responsibility. I got a job that I didn't really want to have. Didn't really like it, and I felt I can do more. Now, towards the end of my training in that unit, I was already, I would say, more the leading guy in the team. I had my voice was heard. I was physically ready in shape, but in the beginning I wasn't.
Right.
I just wasn't there yet because all my background or whatever million reasons I can excuse myself for it. But I just wasn't there. Now, when it came to decide there's always 2 guys or 3 guys from every team who go out to become officers and become in charge of teams or train the next people.
Right.
I didn't get that job, and I did feel like I have this responsibility in me, or I felt I might be good enough to lead a team of guys. And I didn't get it. And I really wanted to do it. So the commander of our unit went to become Magad and Golani, which is it's like a regular combat unit.
Right.
And he told me, hey, we can't give you this job in this special forces unit, but you're good enough to be an officer in the regular unit. Like over there, we need guys like you. Would you want to go leave the unit and go to the regular, combat guys to become an officer?
Mm.
And I said yes. So that's what I did. I left. I went to commander's course, then officer's course, and then I became a commander, and a lieutenant later in Golani, which is the regular combat
And you
unit.
had to go to certain courses you finished.
Yeah, it's another year and something of training.
Was that brutal or was that more mind stuff?
More mind stuff than brutal. Well, I think brutal is just in the beginning
Right. It's just
when it's unknown. Like when you don't I think I did a lot of rock marches in the army. 3 miles and then 5 miles, 10, 20, 70, 100. It goes more and more.
Right.
Now, I still till this day believe that the toughest march I did was the 3 and the 6. Because I had no idea what I was doing, how long it's gonna take, how to pace myself, how to walk. It was a total new thing. Once I got the hang of it, okay, whatever. Let's just do it. Okay.
Stop.
Yeah, once you get the hang of something, you're just doing it. So in officers course, there was a lot of very, very hard tests. You hike for 40 kilometers, and then you do a whole running test for another an obstacle course for a half an hour, and then you have a shooting test, tough tests, which is in a way tougher than the tests I had in the unit, at least in the beginning. Afterwards,
Right.
I had tougher ones. But I think once in my mindset, I had it that I can do it. Just bring it on. It says, whatever. If they make us do it, probably someone passed it before me. And if someone passed before me, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to. You get into the mindset that, bring it on. It's another one. Let's we'll handle it.
So then you actually took over a unit after that?
Not a unit, a team.
A team.
Yeah.
So that I always had so much questions about, because I work with addicts and stuff like that, and the amount of achrayus I feel for the people that I fall in love with, which I'm assuming is similar in the army. I fall in love with all these guys. And you tell me like one of these guys relapses and hurts themselves. For me, I'm not in the army, but I have a lot of deaths that I've been part of. And like sometimes I gotta like stay up at night. Like, am I making the right move? Am I doing so? Now you're in charge of a team. You're responsible for their lives.
Right.
How is that about? Like, what's that like?
It's not easy. It puts you to a point, at least myself, that I can tell you even now, it's years later. Like, I'm not talking the war now, but I'm saying like there is things now that I'm still thinking back of decisions I made 9 years ago, if it was the right call or not. There are certain scenarios that I'm still thinking if it was the right call or not, and if I would have come this story today, if I would have done it differently. At the time, I felt, like someone is going to have to make those calls. Like, there has to be commanders, there has to be officers. Someone has to make those calls. And I felt, in a way, that I cared enough about people that I was comfortable with based on the information I had and the things that I knew to that age. I felt I made the right calls in most cases.
Right.
If there's things that I would have done different today,
a kid. You're like
probably
20 years old making these decisions.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
I do have a question.
Yeah.
When I know with lone soldiers, sometimes they get a little less respect because like they're in and out in 18 months. That guys have told me. What point when you switched to officer school did that change? I don't know if it happened to you, but I know that
I never felt less. If I felt less respect, it was from my guys who's like, dude, you could have been in college now and at raves. Like what are you doing here? Like
that's almost respect.
I had no. It's a disrespect.
Okay.
Because you're an idiot. Like they don't get it. They're like, why would you be here?
Right.
On one hand, and on the other hand, those guys said, if you already came all the way here to do this, you have to be the best.
Gotcha.
Because anything less than the best, they're not gonna. What do you mean? Like you came all the way here, you're not gonna be the best. So it kind of had a big drive from in me that I wanted to prove myself to myself and to the people sometimes around me to say yes. Like I'm gonna work really hard here to make sure that whatever I'm doing is worth it, my time and their time and the guys around me. Like because it wasn't an option for me, or it was an option. Now I have no option other than being the best,
right?
Or trying to be the best in a certain way.
When the first time you did this is your first. I want to talk about the military also, but first, was there any wars at that point, or
there wasn't
did you have
wars?
Any fighting going on?
We had some fighting. I was shot at a couple times, small things.
Right. It wasn't
nothing too crazy compared to what. If you asked me 3 years ago, it was crazy. I would say, "Oh my God, it was so crazy." But if you ask me now,
that was crazy.
Yeah, no, nothing even close to that.
So when you leave, you're in the reserves,
right?
Were you going back to like?
I did, yes, I did go back, but not a lot. Like a week here, a week there. Nothing too serious. You just come, you train a little bit, you do some small stuff.
Hang with your friends.
Yeah, again, it was serious, but nothing. If I would have known what's gonna happen on October 7th, I would have taken a lot more serious. My whole life would have been different. Like I got out of the IDF. When I got out, it was to join a government agency. Right. I was about to join one of the agencies.
Okay.
Got an invite in Israel, but that works not only in Israel.
Okay.
And that was the path that I was...
just said the name. There's only one that works out.
No, there's a couple.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All
there's
right.
a couple.
You decided not to?
What happened? Obviously, I don't work for them.
Right. Well, that's not obvious.
No, it's very obvious. They would have never let me speak on a podcast about anything Israel related or have my face out there. No,
I'm kidding.
No. Maybe they'll reach out to me one day. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
No, I'm too known now to be able to do those type of jobs. But what happened was the process of going into that unit or that organization is a 9 month to a year process. It's very long, an interview and another interview, and there's only certain times that they draft in the year.
Right.
Now, I got out in the beginning of 2020.
Okay.
My brother got married. So I came to the wedding to the United States. And what happens right after that is COVID-19 breaks out.
Right.
Now, I had no reason to rush back to Israel because I have still a few months to go to that program. There's quite a few months. So there's nothing waiting for me tomorrow to go back. So I said, why should I go back tomorrow and be in quarantine for 2 weeks? I'll wait out a couple weeks, then the quarantine will stop, and then I'll go back.
Right.
But it took a
That's
while.
what you said about the gym.
Yeah, took a while.
Right.
So in this time that I was here, my life slowly changed more and more until I realized that's it. I'm gonna stay here for now.
You're staying here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm skipping ahead because October 7th sounds like a turning point in your whole experience.
In my whole life, not just my
In your whole
experience.
life.
Yes.
So October 7th happens.
I'm gonna start a couple months before October 7th. I get
Okay.
married. I get married.
Yeah, when did you get married?
A couple months before October 7th.
It
In
was
May.
Just
Um.
May and then October. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really newlywed.
Yeah. So I remember I was dating my wife, and she asked me, Chaim, you've been in the IDF for almost 6 years. I know you're still a Miluim. How is this going to affect our life together? I said, don't worry. It's in the past. Look at it as I'll go with my friends on vacation for a few weeks. I'll be back. Whatever. Nothing's going on. I'll just, don't even bother asking about it. It's a nothing.
Right. And you believed that at that time.
Yes.
That was like...
It's very hard for me to say if I believe because that's what I believed. However, subconsciously, and I said it to a few people, even to my wife, I think a massive war is coming in Israel. Based on hints that I had.
Really?
But it wasn't the life I was living. Meaning it wasn't the things that I thought about every day, but there's certain stories that I read or certain ideas that I saw and I was like, that's so strange. Something is going to have to happen. I'm telling you now, and I know it's recorded.
Yeah.
I believe we're just at the beginning of something that might happen in the next while in Yudan Ayosh, Begadol, Shamron, whatever. I think something big is going to happen.
Really?
Yes. If it's going to happen next week, hopefully not. In the next year, I don't know. Something big is going to have to happen in order for it to settle. On both sides.
You from the knowledge that you have of what's going on, you're getting that experience. I actually have been. My sister lives in Neve Daniel, next to Ephraim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when is the West Bank gonna do something?
It's gonna have to blow up.
It's a powder keg.
Not because we want it to blow up. I hope not. I really hope some political positions will be changed so we can help prevent that from happening.
Right.
But the way it's going now, it's gonna happen. Because if you have guys who their whole idea and their whole identity is to kill you, and not just because you're a settler, then something is going to have to happen. As long as the teachers in the schools are not going to change, and instead of teaching kids how much to hate Israel, they're going to talk about love and about the world, it's going to have to end somewhere. I can't see it going on. And in the next generation, people are just going to say hate Israel, hate Israel. You think those guys are not going to do something one day? They're going to have to. If you have kids who grew up hating you, one day someone is going to do something.
So you're saying there's never going to be an end?
No, I think the end is going to be when...
Okay, take your mic down a little bit. It's
like this?
Covering your mouth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think the end is going to be when the idea will change. When the idea will change, meaning to say, we will tell them, you ain't getting nothing. Because they don't deserve anything. They had so many options. And the money they're getting is going to fight us. It's not like they're getting money, they're building palaces. The leaders are, but the individual people are not getting anything. They're just getting hate on hate and hate and hate. And every time you speak about a two-state solution, and they're saying they're going to want the capital to be in Jerusalem, obviously that's not going to happen. So their hope should not be that. And only when we're going to take away their hope of telling them, hey, you deserve everything, because they don't, we're going to be able to continue. So, for example, there was the shooting yesterday, right?
Yeah.
With 3 guys got killed. Now, what was the genius idea someone said? A very famous politician. We're going to build a new road around that town so the Israelis don't have to pass that road already.
Right.
Who was killing the people? The road or the people from that town? Now, if they're down to kill you, what makes you think that even if you have a road around, they're not going to come to that road and shoot at you? They didn't shoot you because you passed through the round and they had the car got scratched, they got into a fight.
That's the same idea of making walls and,
I'm against all the walls because
Gotcha,
you're fighting an idea here. You're not fighting an individual. You're fighting a Palestinian idea. Like the war in Gaza, you're not fighting Hamas because it's not only Hamas, right?
Right.
And Nat Wolf said it in a podcast very famously a couple of weeks ago. You're not just fighting Hamas, you're fighting the Jihad Islami. She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
I saw her in Harvard speaking.
She's amazing.
Amazing.
You're not fighting an organization. You're fighting an idea. And as long as you're not going to approach and say, that's who we're fighting, you're going to go around in circles and another round. And you're going to have another round and another round. Because that's not our enemy. Our enemy is the Palestinian idea. The people who say
there could be an end, but it's only when they know we're so strong that we're not
Yeah.
taking any garbage
Yeah.
that they will stop.
Yes.
Have you ever spoken to any Palestinians about this topic? I'm just curious.
So,
It'd be nice
to be fair,
yeah.
real conversations I only had with Palestinians who left, who are like pro-Israel in a way.
Okay.
Palestinians who still hate us, I only get, bad comments on Instagram or whatever they send me stuff.
Yeah.
But there's no conversation. There was like,
Right.
free Palestine. And I'm like, yes, I agree, free Palestine. From Hamas. Like, I agree on your idea. If there's a genocide in the Middle East, it happened in Syria. Like I some things they say I might agree. But there's no. I would love to have a conversation with someone actually intelligent to understand really what they're saying, because what I'm getting and what I'm seeing on the news just makes no sense.
Can I ask you a question that's
Yeah.
be wild? If I found a Palestinian, would you be interested in
Yeah.
talking to him?
Yeah.
I'd be very interested. Okay. I love, because you're like you're in the middle. You're in the middle of all of it.
I wouldn't mind that at
I
all.
would be really interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to find
Again,
that
but it
out.
has to be someone who has an
I'll
idea.
be the moderator.
Right, I'm okay with that. It has to be someone who has an idea, not just going to come in and and just say words. Like there's certain. I'm
I
not
know,
going to
but
say
to
who.
me, it's
Like
like
even on our
my-
side, there's some people who are like very famous on social media and get a bunch of clicks, but they're not saying anything.
Right.
Right? Someone who actually.
Like who's there and not Wolf?
Huh?
Who's there and not Wolf? Like who's
Right.
their intellectual who's thought it out? Like I just hear a lot of, and it's lies, a lot of lies, which really is bothers me. But I'm sure they have some people that could talk about this. With me, I'm outside. I didn't fight. I didn't see my brother. My brothers
Right.
die. Although I will tell you, my sister is literally at a funeral like every couple of days because all of her kids. They're in the special forces. My nephew Yonatan now just got in the special forces. He's deep in Gaza forever. He's the sweetest, yummiest kid in the world. My nephew Gabriel has lost tons of people. Like she's constantly sending. I lost another one, and we're like praying for this one. It's unbelievable.
Right.
But to me, my Jewish spirit doesn't sit well with no peace. So I'm curious, I'm curious to see these arguments on a logical level, like that I would see, and I don't see too much of it. But anyway, okay, different topic.
Okay.
October
Anyway.
7th,
Yeah. So
we're running out of time here.
are we?
No,
Okay. October.
I did a 2.5-hour pod. I can go.
Okay. October 7th. My wife grew up in New Square.
Okay.
So I go to my in-laws for the second days. Actually, the first days I was in Peru, having a time of my life. Amazing. I was so excited, having a ball. I said, second days we're gonna give to God and Square. We're gonna go there. We're gonna do it right.
Right.
I'm in shul. And this Hatzalah member, I don't know if he appreciates if I say his name or not. By now, he lives here somewhere in the area. He comes to me and he's like, Chaim, something is going on in Israel. There's hundreds of dead people. I said, you're out of your
Does he
mind.
live in my area now? I live
No. In the area of here. Like, I don't want to say too much.
Okay, don't say this.
Also, I don't want to say...
Because you
Right.
know my
I don't want to say
house-
exactly where we live also.
We have the new square shul next to my house.
Oh,
Very
really?
proud. Yeah, the on McNamara.
Oh, really?
You know about the shul?
No, I don't know
what
about
are
it.
you talking about? It's awesome.
Oh,
Okay.
I should check it out.
They built a mikveh there. They just unbelievable, gorgeous.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry about that.
So after 20 minutes, he comes back to me and is like, the ambulance driver just showed me on his phone that there is terrorists in Israel and it is full of dead Jews. Now, I didn't really believe it. But if a guy tells you, a guy that I know for kind of a serious guy, I know him, I'm like, okay, maybe I should go home and check. So I walk home into Square to my father-in-law's house. I turn on my phone, and I have hundreds of messages. And my unit, the unit that I belong to, which later maybe I'll explain it, but they were fighting already on October 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
They lost 6 guys. The commanders got shot. A mess. They went into one of the kibbutzim and had some really tough fights there. So over there, I see there's something big going on. The guy, my commander, right? Like the guy gives me basically my boss. He's like, Chaim, you promised me if there's gonna be a war and we need you, you're gonna come. It's been hours and you don't answer me the phone. What's going on? I have the guys under my command who are all texting, hey, where are we going? What are we doing? All anxious. There's a guy who's posting on the chat that he lives in Sderot and there's terrorists outside of his house. Why are you guys not here yet? So right away, I see, yes, this is serious. Something big is going on. Now, I didn't really know where to go. I wasn't sure what to do. So first thing, I tell my wife something bad. She understood right away. I got to go. I get into my car. I drive to Ari Abramowitz's house first. I was like, over there, maybe, I don't know if they know what's going on. They might know more than what I do. I realized they know about it. There was no kivun, like there was no point what they're doing. I was like, okay, I'm going to the airport. I have no idea where I'm going, but I said I'm going to the airport and I'm going to be on the next flight to Israel. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I will be on that flight. I get to JFK. Slowly, more and more people come. It's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Like soldiers are coming?
Yeah. Soldiers are coming to where that lull desk is and saying, hey, we want to get on the next flight. My friends helped me arrange a ticket. Plus the guys over there, everyone is pushing. I get on the flight. The flight was mostly soldiers. Very sad flight. It was like sad story route. It was like, you have like the line in the airport. So I'm standing here. There's these 2 guys. No, there's this girl standing behind me, and then there's 2 guys standing the other side. They tell this girl, it's already Saturday afternoon, October 7th morning in the afternoon. They tell this girl, hey, we're going to fight. We deserve to be in the line in front of you. People get on, we should get on before you. And she said, my sister got killed and I'm going to bury my sister. I think I should be before you guys.
Sorry.
It's like it was a real tough flight. I get there. My unit was sent to up north right away. We're sent up north.
I never have tissues on.
Oh,
You're making me cry, man.
not intentionally.
No.
Yeah. We get sent up north.
Yeah. I mean, they
we get
thought the fighting's going to start right away.
Right, yeah. They were sure, at least what they told us, there's terrorists, like, there were still terrorists down south coming in, it was still a mess over there, but they were like, our big threat now is what's going to happen up north, you guys go up north. We go there, we have, I'm saying almost nothing. Equipment bad, but what we do have is a normal ever be able to take away. We have motivated guys who are here to do everything they can to protect Israel.
Wow.
And I'm there with my guys. We're getting to know each other because some of us haven't really met in quite a while. talk a little bit, and we're there for about 2.5, almost 3 days. And then they said, okay, this is kind of not happening now. We don't need you now here. You guys have to go back down south. We go down south. We get to the base we have. Our official base is down south.
Okay.
We get there.
Near Gaza? Your base
It's
is-
like 40 minutes from Gaza.
Gotcha.
They're like, we don't want you guys to get in the fight or in the kibbutzim. We're going to need you guys to go into Gaza from the first teams. They're going to go into Gaza. So you just focus on your training and be on top of your game. So when you go in, you'll come out. That's really the idea of it. So that's what we do. Meanwhile, I'm getting donated equipment from friends, shoes, helmets. I got a good helmet only after fighting in Gaza for a few months. Like we had mamish nothing in the beginning.
Really?
So yeah, that's what happened. So
You started you did some of the campaigns to get people to pay and all that stuff?
I didn't do any campaigns because I was so busy building my guys.
Sure.
So I asked my friends to help do campaigns for me, which they did.
Which I did.
And then just I was like, I wish I have time to be busy with this. I don't. I have, you always got to, it's always in life, you want to know where are you the most needed.
Right.
Although you're needed now in a billion different places, but what's my priority? And my priority is my guys in the end.
Mm.
So other people can take care of the equipment. Other people can take care of the guys who are going to fight. So that's going to be my focus. That's what I focused on. And Baruch Hashem, my shoes I got donated from friends right away. Slowly we got more and more helmets. And so far we got more and more stuff as thing
I don't
goes
know how
on.
many hundreds, maybe thousands of vests she got.
And
She's
those
been
save
raising money the
lives.
whole time.
Those save lives. Like 100% they save lives. Like they really, helped bring back some people. For sure.
For sure, yeah. I mean, she's...
So that's what happened. Then going into Gaza
So then you were one of the first units to actually
of the
go
first.
in Gaza.
Yeah.
They waited a little while, right?
For a
Are you
couple
guys
weeks,
getting
yeah.
frustrated as anything with the political
I-
stuff, or I don't know if it was political stuff at that point.
When I'm wearing my my IDF hat, I'm not allowed to say anything political.
Are you?
I'm not allowed.
Is that the rule?
Yeah,
Are you wearing your IDF hat?
I'm not.
Okay. All right.
So not as an IDF guy. Yes, I was
Yeah.
frustrated politically a little bit, but there is no choice. There's a you always have to see if your kid, let's say, right, if your kid runs into the street,
Right.
are you going to be more frustrated on your kid for running into the street, or are you going to jump in to take him off the street?
Yeah, I got you.
You're going to be frustrated that he's running away from you to the street, but as a father, your mission is to get him off the street.
Right.
So as a soldier, I might not always be happy with all the decisions some people made, but as a combat soldier, I still have to do whatever it is to help whoever I can.
Right.
And that's what we did. We said we're putting everything aside. We're going now to fight. And our goal is going to be to bring back the hostages and to, bring back peace, or not to be threatened by rockets every other day, and not to, live as victims, nor to live like we should as good people who want to live in peace. And if their friends don't want to make peace, then they should not be there.
Right. What was the mood of everybody going in?
Hyped.
Just hyped.
Hyped. We were like, we're going to,
Finally beginning to
whatever there is, we're going in. And we're going to, there was no one's concern. I said it a few times. The only place where I hang out with a bunch of Jews and there is no politics is in Gaza. Because when you're in uniform, no one is looking if you have a white shirt or a blue shirt or a sweatshirt,
Right.
if you have a kippah or not, it doesn't matter. We're here together as the same goal to bring the hostages back and to bring back peace. Whatever it takes, we will do. And that's amazing. And it's kind of a feeling that I know a lot of guys that have a very hard time coming back to civilian life is because of that. Like they're soldiers struggling with PTSD maybe because there they were with all the guys being one, part of one team, doing one thing, fighting for the Jewish people. And they come back and they see a billion other Jews, like different ideas, different things. That's not what I fought for. I fought with other Jews to come back and have a good Jewish life. And I think that's hitting a lot of the soldiers. And I think that might be a struggle for some of the guys.
Yeah, I for sure.
Yeah.
It's like I was talking about that before, like the unity, and the unity of just being a soldier is one thing, but going into Gaza sounds like the crazy. What about fear? I just like what? I mean, you're walking into some pretty terrifying experiences. Like, how do people deal with that?
Some people couldn't deal with it. We had a couple of guys who just couldn't deal with it. But the majority and myself, it's weird. I might be delusional, but I knew I'm coming back alive. Like, I know my mission is not over yet. I know I still have a lot to get done, a lot of good things to happen. And I knew going into Gaza is to fight back and believing in God that we're doing the right thing, whatever. If God wants to take me, he'll take me by a car accident over here. Like, he doesn't need to send me into Gaza to die.
Right.
And I believe in God, and I know that he sends me there to fight, and in Eretz Hashem, I'll come back.
So you had bitachon, emunah,
100%.
like completely. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I was like, I'm going in, I'll come out.
Did you like see yourself or other people, like, do you see like major heroism, like
Yes.
like
Yes.
you have any
Yes. But here's the thing, heroism in a way, at least the real heroes that I saw, they don't want to be heroes.
Okay,
Meaning to
explain
say you've been put in a position that you gotta do something that it's an act of heroism. A guy who comes and wants to be the hero, he's not the real hero. Because he wanted that. So you're telling me he risked his life? Yes, he wanted to risk his life. The guy who went in and fought with his team, and then someone did something or something bad happened, and he went to put himself on the line to save his friend, not thinking about COVID, not thinking about what he's going to get when he comes back. Those are the real heroes. That's why I say I'm just the guy who speaks, because I do get thank yous.
Right.
The guys who I work with, those are the real heroes. Those are the people who are doing everything just l'shem shamayim in a way.
So
those are the real
The
heroes.
heroes that you think of as heroes, or are the real heroes, they would rather be home with their family. They're not
Yes,
dying.
yes.
They're doing it because
They're doing it because they want to be with their family, and in order for them to be with their family, they got to do this thing so we can live in Israel the way it should be.
Right.
They don't do it to be a hero, because if you do it to be a hero, then you're not a hero.
Right. I think the heroes that I've met in my life all are very annoyed when you say they're heroes.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this is what I had to do, and I had to do that.
They've been put in a position, and God sent them to that position because they had the right qualifications to do it. And sometimes the people who talk a lot are not the same guys. And I know I'm talking to myself. That's why I like... I'm not that guy.
Dude, you're talking right now. You're spreading some very important messages, especially with Nevut, which I love. Did you end up losing anybody?
We did, yeah.
In your
More than one guy. But first guy was very, very hard on me, at least. Super, still is. His name was Maor Levi. Now, mind you, the sweetest guy out there. Like you can still look him up, pictures, videos. Nicest guy out there by far. You're talking about a guy's a father of 4 kids. Hatzalah member. His wife said by the funeral, and I know it's true too because I know him from before, every time a call came in his neighborhood, he used to go to his wife and say, "Is it okay that I go now in this call?" And then he went. Like with the sweetest, nicest guy out there. And he used to tell me about his daughters and about Hatzalah. I used to be, EMT and involved in certain things. So we had interesting conversations, very, very close. And then we got hit one day. And I got there a little after. Like, I wasn't in the building when we got hit. I got there right after. And then, we just put him in a body bag. And you know that this is the last time you're seeing him. And it didn't click for a while.
Really?
Then I went to the Shiva. Funeral, we couldn't go. We still had work to do, so we couldn't go out. I went to the Shiva, and his wife was like, "Chaim, what are you doing here? Just go away. Like, go back to America."
Really?
Yeah, she was like, wars are bad. And now you see the daughters, it just breaks your heart on a deep level, like a really deep level. Then we had, we had another guy, Michael also, we got hit. We don't know we still don't know exactly what happened. So by him, after we sent his body to Israel, we found brain matter on the floor. So I took that, and I was the one taking it to Chevra Kadisha outside.
Really?
So I left Gaza just myself. Everyone was still inside. I left Gaza just myself, and I was driving fast, so they should be able to bury it with his body. And I'm sitting on the road, and I have his busted gun, and sitting behind me, and and other stuff, as I said before. And you just like, here's your friend. He's gonna be buried now. He just died. And you see everything goes on normal. Like life is normal. There's people like beep and get angry on the red lights and the train. Like it's like you're driving an hour or less from where your friend just died, and then you see life is going on like nothing before. Like everything, nothing. There's no war going on. There was no nothing. That was. I'm not gonna lie. That wasn't easy at all to see.
Like the world should stop. Like
It should.
yeah,
It really should.
yeah.
That was tough a little.
Oh my God.
Then last couple guys are like good friends that I lost also, but the last guy was last week.
Really?
There's a guy.
In your unit?
So Schreibman, he was one of the officers in my unit, and he went into a different unit 2 months ago.
Okay.
So he goes into a different unit 2 months ago, and he died last week in Gaza. Now, mind you, it's the guy I'm sitting with in Gaza a couple times. We met, we hung out. I'm not gonna say he's my best friend at home, but he's a guy I worked with for quite a bit, and we hung out, and he got married, and whatever. And then I'm going to our shul one night for mincha over here, and right when I get out of my car, I just check my phone. I see his picture on my Instagram with like Hashem Yimkon Doma. It just, there's a certain part in your brain that like, oh my God, it's like this war is still going.
It's still happening.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy because I've been to Israel a bunch of times, and the rest of Israel is like regular life.
Yeah,
it's a weird
which is
thing.
good, but very sad for us.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you don't even you go in. It's like I'm in Rapid Shemesh and I'm going shopping for groceries. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
you don't-
It's just like a regular day. Wow.
There's people dying, and they're dying for us.
Yeah.
Like I know all the guys that we lost, especially the friends of mine. They did it for us. Like I don't think they want us to stop our lives because they did it in order for us to be able to continue our lives. Like
Yeah.
they did it because they want Israel to be at peace and Jews to have their home.
Yeah, I could say since October 7th, I always said that. Like the Israeli soldiers are really protecting us everywhere in the world, and it never really hit till October 7th, and the hatred came out. And I'm like, if we weren't there and it wasn't being protected by the soldiers, like we really are dealing with an existential crisis that is like we're in trouble everywhere.
Even if we go away now, what's gonna happen now? They're not gonna stop in Gaza. It's clear they're not gonna.
No.
They're saying it. It's in their motto. We're gonna.
But I'm saying it's even the rest of the world. It feels like to me that the simmering hatred that's going on in the world. If we didn't have a play, like when I think my nephew's out there fighting for me, like I feel like he's fighting for me now.
He
Like,
is.
It's not just Israelis. Like it really like I've never felt more connected to an Am Yisrael than since this happened. And I know that. Okay, like I need to know this Sinwar story. I know
Okay.
you've told it probably 1,000 times.
No, I can say
it.
So Sinwar story is very, it's difficult that I'm the one speaking about it when I wasn't even there.
Right. Okay.
So we can go the long story, the short story, a bunch of different things. So my unit, we're a bunch of guys, divided in different units. I'm one of the officers in the unit. I'm a captain. Now, we are in this neighborhood called Tel Sultan. It's in Rafah, but Rafah is, I would say, if you say New York, like New York City. There's like Brooklyn and so there's like different neighborhoods in Rafah. One of them is called Tel Sultan. We're in this neighborhood. Now, when we got there, it was a week after they found bodies of 6 hostages in that neighborhood.
Oh, so they know something.
And Sinwar's DNA was all over those hostages.
What do you
Yes.
mean?
So
does
we
that mean?
knew, let's just keep it at this.
Okay.
We knew he was in the area for sure.
Okay.
Okay. We also did not have a lot of encounters from inside the neighborhood. From outside we had, from inside we didn't. And there's a couple other things going on that hopefully with time we'll be able to say a little more about it.
Okay.
But that particular day was an easy day. Nothing special going on. Just, everything is normal-ish. Now, I've been in there for a month. So I was in Rosh Hashanah, I was in Gaza. Yom Kippur, I was in Gaza. Sukkot, I was about to be. And my wife, was all alone the whole time with my baby. So she said, maybe we can just spend the first day of Sukkot together. And, you come out. Because she came to Israel.
Oh, she was in Israel.
Yeah, she came to Israel. I was like, you know what? Everything is calm now. I'm going to come out to hang out with you for the first day. I come out, and then I figured out on the outside that my guys killed Sinwar, which is very sad.
It's very sad.
And exciting at the same time, So what happened over there, but then I still had part of the fight afterwards because it was took a couple of days till that whole cell was taken out. So I still had, my fair share of action in that fight, but not in this particular Sinwar one. They see where it started was they're going over from one building to the other, which I was helping them get over to that building where they went. Some of the guys of the team.
Can I just ask a question? Because I don't really... Are these buildings evacuated?
Yes.
So there's not supposed to be anybody there.
So the rule is in that neighborhood, there is no one should be there, including civilians. No one. No one. No human should be there because we know Hamas is there, so we said no human should be there. Now, where it gets complicated is that if you see someone, even though you know he should not be there, you don't know if he's a terrorist or not. So you're not going to just shoot on anyone. So it makes it very complicated because the chances of this guy being a Hamas terrorist is probably 90%, but you're still not going to shoot him right off as long as you don't see that he has a gun or something that he's here to kill you, you're going to keep off, which makes it a lot more complicated.
Sure.
And if the rules of engagement would have been a little bit easier, probably quite a few lives would have been saved.
Yeah.
But
there were civilians sticking around?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Some,
on the outside, yes.
Did that they had to be careful.
Yes. Plus, we know there's hostages. And worst thing you want to do is shoot a hostage.
Sure.
And we found there's another hostage that was found in that neighborhood alive.
Alive?
Yes. One of the guys that came back was found that neighborhood alive.
Oh, wow.
It's a long story that also I'm not sure how much is open to talk about. But
Okay.
there is reason not to just shoot anyone because we're not, that makes us different than Hamas. We actually care about people. They found this grenade. They go out of the building. When they go out, one of the sharpshooters sees 3 people running or walking away, very suspicious. He calls on the radio, and it's recorded, the whole thing. Hey, something's going on, whatever, activate everyone. Everything gets activated, drones go up in the air, there's, everyone is looking, everyone is coming to see, what he could have seen. And after about 2 hours, the head commander of the unit is like, nothing's going on, cancel. Now, in that same time, what's still going on is there is the foot trackers, which is guys who look after people based on footsteps. Like they know how to read insane,
Like legit
footsteps.
Native American trackers?
Yes.
Okay.
And those guys actually are like if you look at them civilian life, they're like shepherds and like real interesting people, but in the army they're amazing in what they do.
Wow.
They saying we're on hot tracks. We're going after this. And the drone is still up. And in the same time, in the same second, at least in the same minute, they see 3 people running away from them, or maybe 4, and the drone sees 3 suspicious people, running away from them. Now the real, the action starts because those people start shooting at them. It starts a fight. Now they get spread out between a few buildings. Let's say there's building number A and B, okay?
Right.
And building number B, we know there's people who went in. And there's a firefight happening with this building. So under Schreibmann's command, which the guy got killed last week, under his command, the guys go to building A in order to get a better vision on building B, to be able to see what they want to see, to be able to help on that. As they want to go in the building, they want to go up the stairs, they see a trail of blood and grenades are been thrown down towards them. Obviously, they back off. They back away. Now a firefight starts with building number A as well. In that fight, there's a guy who got shot in his stomach from the side. The side bullet got shot. It was critical. I think now he's almost good. And the fight with that building starts. Now, when we know for sure there's a terrorist in a building shooting at you, then we don't have to go in to confirm. We know there's a guy there fighting at us, so we're not going to die. So we send in drones. We send in different things. That's where the famous drone is from, the footage.
The inside drones, the outside drones are different?
Yes. There's a couple, I'm not sure how much I should say online,
Okay.
but there's a couple types of drones, and every drone has a different thing that this drone is good at.
Well, okay.
So one drone is better at giving you an overvision on everything. One drone is better at going into tight places. Some drones have thermal imaging. Like, there's different drones that have different missions, kind of. So there's the drone that I got from my unit is the drone that was up above recognizing, and the drone went in was a different drone.
I mean, you got it. That was one of the donated drones?
Yes.
Oh, I think I heard you say that.
Yeah. So my friends donated the drone. I said, I went to them for Shabbos. They're like, we're talking a bunch about Nevut, about this, about that. They're like, if we can help you one thing now for your unit when you guys are going back, what do you need? I said, I need more drones. So they bought me a drone.
Really?
And
that's
that
a
drone had a big involvement in catching Sinwar.
Oh, wow.
Now, what happens afterwards is fight starts with that building. It goes back and forth. In the end, they know the guy is neutralized, and they continue because there's still a bunch of other terrorists fighting at us. It's a fight. Now, why did it take so long? Not because they were so sophisticated. It's because we were so careful. Because we don't want to just shoot anyone. We don't just want to kill. Like there's a certain, there's rules of engagement. You want to make sure you do it the right way. You really want to get to the bottom of this and not just shoot anyone. So that's why it took a while. This whole commotion was going on for a couple of days. The easy way would have been just, shoot everything, bomb everything, and you're done. But and I'm glad that's not the way we do stuff, because we do care about human life and we want to bring the hostages back. So that makes it a little bit different.
Right.
Now, so in the morning, they shot a guy who afterwards he was
in Building A? I'm sorry to...
Building A, the fight stops with Building A.
Okay.
We know the guy inside is dead. We continue on. It's still,
okay.
like, you're not going to go to, why? The guy was shooting at you. There's no point of taking his DNA. He's shooting. He's a terrorist, right? So you're continuing on the fight. You're in the middle of a fight now.
Right.
Maybe a day too late, he would have went back to it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But the idea is you want to continue. You're in the middle of a fight now. You got to stop the bleeding.
Right.
You got to continue. So this one guy was shot in the street. They go to his body and they see cash and the UN passport and guns and stuff. So like, hey, this is different than what we usually see, because usually terrorists, they don't have a UN passport. Some have, but if it's a UN passport and some cash, this might be different. So maybe the intelligence wants to know about this guy. Maybe they know. So they send them the information of this guy, and they're coming back, hey, by the way, this guy is supposed to be with Sinwar. Maybe you guys go back and see who the guy you killed yesterday, if that was Sinwar.
So when
So the
Okay.
day later,
the guy's dead for a day.
the guy's dead for a day.
Okay.
The day later, they go back, they look at the body, and they're like, oh my God, that's Sinwar.
Like they recognized him.
They had an idea. They were almost sure, not 100%. His face had like a bunch of like, whatever. It didn't look as nice in the picture, so they had to like wash it a little bit to see if he still has certain things. And then send those pictures back to Israel, and they were like, yeah, that's Sinwar.
Wait, so wow. Holy cow. No, we start hearing him. Sinwar might have died. When was that? That was probably when they already identified him.
That's when they were identified him, but very interesting. It was out in the media before all the guys in the field knew, because the officers in Gaza kept it a secret.
So they didn't even know. They just found out
Yeah.
from the media.
Yeah.
I mean, your guys were like,
Some
what?
of them knew already, but quite a few of them didn't. Wow. Because you're not gonna announce it on the radio. You're not gonna, and not everyone is just whatever. But I think the Israeli government let it out to the media right away.
Yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
even identify him yet. It wasn't like
Yeah.
official. They
It was
were
a
like,
big deal.
Maybe it was a huge deal. And we all thought it was going to end the war.
We hoped.
I mean, I was like, all right. Isn't that what we were going for?
We're going for the hostages.
Right.
That's the difference between us and them. We're going for hostages.
So
We're
who's
going
running
for our
the
people.
show? Who's running the show now? Like other people?
There is other people. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really, I guess they like to say that there's one guy doing everything, so we have a bad guy to go for. But there's other people.
He was running a lot. Off the air, I can tell you who's running the show now. I think on air, for some reason, they don't want everyone to know who it is.
Really?
Yeah. But we'll see. Time will tell.
But let's say kill everybody in Gaza. Then
We don't want to. That's the difference between us
not
and
the
them.
people. I'm saying you kill all Hamas fighters.
But you want to get the hostages back. Now, we know some of the Hamas leaders and fighters are around hostages. If you shoot them, you shoot the hostages.
Right.
And we don't want to do that.
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry you missed the one part of the war that would
Yeah,
have
it
been
was
fun
one.
to
Yeah.
be.
Well, for
Not fun.
my wife deserved that day with me. She really did. She really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's happy that you weren't in the fight.
She is. She's kind of happy about it. Yeah.
So now you're done.
No,
So what is your situation now?
I'm going back very often.
Okay.
I'm
To
actually-
fight or
to fight, yeah, to fight or to bring the hostages back, whatever you want to call it.
no? I'm saying do they call you back?
Yeah.
Or?
They call me back. I'm actually going in very soon, like very, very soon.
Really?
But lately I try not to. If I go back, I usually would post on social media after I came back that I was there last week.
Gotcha.
Or not most of the time, other than my wife and one or two friends, I don't tell everybody where I am, what I'm doing.
Okay, so now I got a question about social media. Then I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
go soon. Soon I'm gonna let you.
I'm
go.
cool.
Okay, good. I've never been. First of all, you're the first person to make me cry on a podcast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you win. I don't know what kind of medal that is. Not that I'm not a sensitive guy, but I'm trying to be professional.
Are you a crier?
What? No, not. I mean, no. My kids say I never cry, but which I think I'm a sensitive person, but I just don't cry a lot.
I have a very hard time with crying.
just
like,
not
like,
crying. You don't cry.
I only cry, and I cry. I'm not gonna say I don't cry. I only cry by friends' funerals or someone close to me.
Oh, I cry at all funerals. Well, they're usually close to me.
Well, if you go, you don't
Yeah.
do funeral hopping.
I'm not, no, I do cry at funerals, but in a conversation just to cry, it's very, very rare.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen to me.
It's very rare. But I do have a question because when this war started, so I am very apolitical in my life, and even like topics that like Israel that really matter to me. I'm like, in the world to like help people that are struggling, and I'm not really there to like piss anybody off or tell them what my political opinions are or my thoughts. But obviously, October 7th happened, and I put out a couple of posts. I don't have a huge presence, but enough of a presence that a couple of thousand, I don't know, 10,000 people listened or something to some reels. The amount of hate that came back literally made me shut it down. I couldn't. I was like, I felt like there was no dialogue. There was so much hatred, and I was like, okay, I don't know if this is my fight. Like which I'm a little bit ashamed of, but I also was like, it was not something I have other things I'm fighting for, and for the Jewish nation, and I was like, maybe that's not where it is. So you're putting out a lot of stuff. You have social media presence.
Yeah. Not as much as I want to.
Are you getting a lot of hatred? I mean, you mentioned before, like the Free Palestine
I'm
stuff,
getting.
but
I don't know what a lot is. A lot is depending, a lot is always, if there's a measurement, like there's like 100 posts and you get 90, that's a lot for 100. If there's 1,000 and you get 100, is that a lot?
no, I tell you,
Like, I don't know
how
what
to
a lot
say
means by you, but by me,
Yeah,
I think in the world now, people don't know what's going on in Israel. And they need to know. I know some of my friends that I speak to almost on a regular basis. Like I mentioned your name of someone that posted something about Israel. And I'm like, dude, I was there. How can you say that? And some of them, oh, really? Okay, I didn't know. So it's kind of our obligation that if I know what really happened, right? If I know what happened where I was, if you know what happened in your shul, right? It's you're obligated to tell the people who are willing to listen that this is going on.
right.
So I see it as a Jewish obligation, especially people who love Israel and they know the truth because there's so much things that are not true out there. I feel we're obligated to tell the truth. That's why I came on this a little.
Right.
Like I want people to know this is what's going on. There's kids dying every day. There's hostages still there. There's babies who were born and never saw their father. I don't even know if their father knows they had a baby. Like, there's Jewish women getting raped. Like, the world needs to know about that stuff. So I feel we do need to have even a stronger social media presence because this, I think percentage-wise, more people now take the news from social media than what they take from the actual Fox News or whatever.
I don't even go on to any of those
Right.
news things.
So where do you take your media from?
From
Twitter,
social
right?
media.
What X?
Whatever
Whatever.
pops up.
So it's so easy for us to write things on social media. I think it's our duty. And people need to know what's going on. So if you're listening, you have any social media presence, and you know the truth about Israel, tell your followers about it. Tell your friends. They should know what's going on. And I think it's very important. And I think it's not been done enough. And I understand because people are getting hate. And people don't like to get
I
hate.
would tell you about the hate with my experience. It wasn't like I hated that I got hate. I couldn't handle how many people hate us. It really was hurting me. I have been living, even though I study history and I know it, I know that they hate us. I know. But there was like a cognitive dissonance. There was a denial. I was able to cut myself off from it and say it's not really happening. And then it was there. It was too much for me.
Now, how many of the people who hate us actually hate us, or how many just don't know the truth?
I
am sure that there is some people who hate us, not because they hate us, it's just because they don't know. If you see a picture of a dead baby, that's tough.
Yeah.
For everyone. Now, if someone tells you this is what Israel did, obviously it's tough. But if you dig in, half those pictures are taken in Syria.
Right.
Right? If you talk about genocide, talk about the real genocide. Where are all the courts? Assad killed thousands and thousands of people. He used chemical weapons. Right?
Right.
That's the real things. And people are using those pictures of what happened in Gaza. It's just not true. Now, if you are in the know and you know what it is, then it's our duty to say it. Yes, we're going to get some hate. Obviously, we're going to get some hate. But who cares?
I guess you're right. I follow this woman who lives in Gaza. Maybe I shouldn't follow her, but she lives there, and she's got millions of followers.
Right.
And she's saying stories. I mean, I'm always like, she's always talking about how starving they are, and she's a little chubby, and she has not gotten skinnier this entire time. I'm like wondering, I don't want to say her name because I don't want to promote her,
She
but
doesn't
like,
deserve it.
she's very compelling. She's saying a story that's like really sounds terrible.
Okay, how many Israeli stories are there? You know,
Right.
I can give you now 20 stories of wives that lost their husbands, right? Or just whole families that got wiped out. There's families, a father, mother, and kids who got wiped out. No one is telling those stories.
Right.
Maybe you should say those stories. Maybe it should be a time, and I think Daniel Mel is doing it lately. We should tell the stories of our people, and those are your guys. It's like they're our people, and they're suffering, and we need to tell their story. And we do need to have a stronger social media presence and Bechlala presence as people to know what we're going through.
I see why you're a commander, bro. I'm like,
Thank
no,
you.
because while you're saying this, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing this podcast, a lot of mental health stuff, a lot of this, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, I think I should do another podcast once a week that's just telling these stories. Like, I'm immediately, it's working. I'm just saying what you're
Thank you.
doing is you're a good commander.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Maybe some of your followers can do it. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
have to do it, but I'm saying us as a nation have to do more. I don't think, like, we do a lot, and some people are very good at it, and the people who are very good at it, they do enough.
Right.
But if you look around as a whole, how many guys from our shul can have a stronger influence than what they have?
And what you have.
Than what we have, me and you.
Yeah.
There's guys in our shul way more successful than I probably will ever be.
Right. That's true. Me too.
Yeah, but we got to do it. And they're telling
Right.
me how much they support me. Thank you for your support. You know, you give me $100. Whoa, like, not for me. Like, give $100.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But dude, stand up. Give a course for your employees about Israel. You have 1,000 guys that work in your company. Take once out of the year and just show them what's going on in Israel. You know, there's people believing now that Israel started the war in Gaza.
Yeah. Most people believe that.
That's crazy, right? They killed people at a festival. Mind you, you're telling me they killed soldiers. Oh, obviously, it's very bad. It's very sad. They went to a festival, people who were on drugs, raving away, and just killed one by one, systematically. And no one talks about it. This is the crazy part. Like, to me, this is the crazier part of this war, and the war that we still need to fight. And if you ask me about people who are not capable and serve the physical war, this is the war they should be fighting. And everyone can do it by a post, by a conversation, by just fact checking. Look at the facts. Look at what's happening now.
I feel like we're being attacked by so much information that even good people are being fooled.
So they should
by-
fact check it.
Right.
They should look into it. I don't blame them. You know, I'm also, I'm not gonna lie. There's sometimes I see a good, news story. I'm like, oh my god, this is so sad. This is so crazy. And then I look into it. And I'm like, it's pure. I'm not gonna curse. But
Baloney.
yeah, it's like pure baloney. And I'm like, what? But it's written so well.
Right.
So that's a smart people problem. You go to those universities and you see those people. And they're like educated people telling you something, but this educated guy is a big bluff.
Well, I have a part of me that's just so sick of arguing that anti-Semitism exists. I'm like, a part of me wants to be like, I don't even want to answer you. But you're saying the opposite. But part of me is like, I got to prove to you that for 2,000 years that you're trying to murder us. We finally get a tiny little piece of land and we want to keep it. And I got to prove to you that we're all right. Like, I feel like it's almost like, what do you guys like? Use your brain a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
look at something.
That's when you're talking to one individual.
Yeah.
So if you're arguing with one individual, I would say yes, guys. One guy comes to shul and says it's Thursday today, and everyone is saying it's Shabbos. Yes, this guy has a problem.
Right.
But your job is how you're saying it's Shabbos. You come with a white shirt, you say it's Shabbos. So if your presence is going to be strong enough and screaming the truth loud enough, they hopefully will have to fall away. It's a big battle we're fighting.
No, you're
It's a big battle.
I will tell
But-
you that I usually. Oh, wait, yeah, sorry.
No, it's a big battle, but if we work on it slowly, step by step, I'm not saying we're going to win now that 6 billion people in the world are going to say, oh my God, Israel's amazing. But I think there is millions of people who just don't know the truth we might be able to educate.
I hope you're right. And I usually finish the pod by saying, like, what's your, like, rooftop yell to the world? I don't know. I think you already did it. But if you have another one, like, what?
This is one. This is one.
Yeah.
My second yell now is to the Jews in America, and also about Israel. I want more people to know about the lone soldiers. There is official numbers, 30,000 people who came from around Israel on October 7th to fight. Now, not all of them are lone soldiers, but I would say 12 to 15,000 probably are from here around, right? A big percentage in New York, LA, Miami, that's like Florida, Bachlal, you have like the big percentages. But then I have all over the states. Almost probably every community has one or two guys who went to fight. Now, those guys need to know that you appreciate what they did, because there's a tremendous, like I was today on the phone with someone in Israel. In Israel, the government gives you 12 sessions with a psychiatrist if you fought in Gaza. Okay? You know what the guys here get? Nothing.
When they come back here.
Nothing. No one looks at them. Best thing that I got was I went to a shul. I don't know if I should say the name. Shiners, I'll say. I went to Shiners.
All right.
One of the rounds I came back, and I bought aliyahs because I had to a gomel, right? So
Right.
I bought aliyahs, and I say, the whole bracha, and there's a guy from literally the other side of the shul. He's like, "Are you Meisels?" I'm like, "Yes." How is PTSD treating you? Mind you, there's full, now this guy, I'm not blaming him because he's extremely uneducated. I felt bad for him that this is the question he asked.
Right.
But there is hundreds of guys who came back here and struggling, and I'm really struggling on different types of levels. Some are good, some are really struggling. And I want more people to know about those struggles and be a, Baruch Hashem, I'm fine. I'm with Nevut. I have, good community, good friends, but not everyone has that. And I want the people who don't have that, I want to be able to help and provide for those heroes, and they really are heroes, a community and the help they need in order for them to be able to have nice Jewish families.
Wow. Well, that's a beautiful
really
rooftop. I will ask a follow-up question then.
Yeah.
How does somebody help? How I'm a guy. I mean, I understand giving money, and I'm assuming there's a place to
Right,
give money,
yes.
and
I'll send you a link. You can put it in.
A link.
It's also...
What else could we do?
So one, it's the eyes and ears. Meaning to say, sometimes by seeing a soldier and you might see he might be going through something, just have a drink with him, talk to him. Or if you don't feel capable, at least send us, because we don't, a lot of the guys are very embarrassed to reach out to us. Because I'm this big macho soldier, I'm not going to go ask for help. So sometimes by us, by telling us about it, and we have our ways of how we approach them in order to be able to help them. So sometimes by just telling us, hey, this guy needs help, that is a big help already, so we know to approach those guys. And just be nice to them, I'm not going to say sad numbers here, but there's been a lot of sad stories very lately in the United States. And I really want to help those guys.
Dude, got me floored. This was the most beautiful. I know you're beautiful and you inspired me, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to get back to you. And then now I'm also going to make you be a part of it somehow. But I have to think about it, but I am not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I send my donations. I give my sister sends out a thing.
Right.
I send in. I feel
Thank you.
Yaitzik but I have a platform and I will use it. Damn the hate. I'll turn off the.
Just don't look at it. Just don't look at it.
It was rough.
Okay.
Thank you, brother. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.